Welcome to the group chat with Tara Thomas and Amanda Goodman of Faith and Four-Letter Words.
And we're back. The duo has returned on this April. What is the date?
It's April 8th, Wednesday, April 8th.
I'm Tara Thomas.
And I'm Amanda Goodman. Thanks so much for joining us.
And thank you for doing the honors the last two
It was rough.
shows.
No, of
Friday
course.
and Monday.
Of course, a little technical
Good
difficulties
Friday.
on Good Friday. Monday. It is very difficult. It's kind of like anchoring back in a newsroom. It was always just different when you didn't have
Right. You don't have a person to bounce off all your jokes, your quips.
Well, it's funny because when I would solo anchor in different news stations across the country, it was kind of a lot of times depending on who my male co-anchor was. It was the only time I would actually get a word in when I would solo anchor, because when I was in North Carolina,
I believe it.
I was never allowed. If you would see me, if we would, we're doing breaking news, so it was all ad-libbed, and I would be on the side and. I was never, and I was later told by that person who I worked with in North Carolina that I was just the accessory.
Oh,
he was the
gosh.
main. He was the main. Before we get to it, we do have to say that there was an 11th hour deal, 11th hour, and President Trump says there's a big day for world peace. This last minute agreement with Iran is going to avoid, carnage, pretty much absolute carnage. So we have allegedly brokered a deal with Iran that will avoid what could potentially have been a catastrophic world war. So that's a good way to start our day, because I had kids at home. They were worried about it. They were asking a lot of questions, and I said, I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you for the update. I also wanted to share, as I mentioned last week, I do have a new grandchild. My oldest stepdaughter just had our first grandchild, Wrigley Calvin, and he is adorable. So we were able to spend a long weekend over Easter meeting him, and it was so fun. And I was happy for Taylor. He is such a good baby. We went everywhere with him, from church to wineries, and he just stayed in his carrier or his car seat, and he was so good. So I wanted to share some of those photos with all of you. So here's Dave and me holding Wrigley, and this was actually in the high school classroom of my other stepdaughter, Lauren. She's a high school teacher in a city called Toppenish, Washington, which is where my husband is from. And he graduated from the same high school where she now is a high school teacher. Here we are holding him. He's just a little snuggle bunny resting on my arm. And we just couldn't believe how good he was during the 4 days that we were there. This is Taylor and her husband, Spencer. And this Gilbert Cellars is an example of one of many wineries and breweries that dot the Yakima Valley. They have now become known as the Little Napa because they have so many destination wineries and breweries that so many people from Seattle come over the Cascade Mountains to visit. So a lot of tourism in the area. And then here's my daughter, Charlotte, who flew up from Tucson to join us. And then our son, Thomas, who has a shirt that says Cool Uncles Club. And Dave has a shirt that says Grandpa 2026.
That's cute. Proud family. I love it.
So I just wanted to thank everybody for the good wishes for Taylor and her family. And I think for me, I definitely understand now. It was like seeing, Dave holding his first grandchild and then just being around what's now his and my, through marriage, next generation. It was really a new feeling.
Yeah. And I hope Taylor knows that when you have that perfectly well-behaved first baby, it gives you the confidence to have that second one. And that second one, I can tell you, will not be well-behaved. No, that's amazing. I always think it's amazing when it's a new mom and dad and they get that. The baby is well-behaved. I mean, and just easy and laid back and same thing.
Well, and I told her about you because this is her first, and she had Calvin Wrigley. She had Wrigley at 38. And so I told her, I said, now once the kid starts school and then is a part of all the things, if it's activities or sports, you will definitely skew a little bit older, compared to the other moms. And we have talked about, there's definitely pros and cons to that, but I think we both appreciate that we were more patient and settled in life when
Oh.
we had some of our children
Oh,
later in life.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I spent the entire decade having children. So I started at 30. I had my first, had our first at 30, and then I had our fourth when I was 40. And my
Great.
chill meter, I'm much more chill with the
Oh,
older
for sure.
the older that I got. I am the oldest amongst parents for Aria's grade. I'm probably like grandma status, but I'm so much like, I don't care.
Right.
Right. Like I don't get wrapped up in who's invited to the play group or
That's so true. You've evolved to a place where that doesn't impact you the way that it did when we were younger.
Oh,
for sure.
Right.
You
For
know?
sure. Yeah, for sure. You know,
And the other part that I think is interesting, you have already sort of been there, done that with the older ones. So then you recognize that things that seem like big slights are
Doesn't
not the
matter.
end of the world, because the kid is going to grow out of it and be fine.
Right. Yeah. The only thing you can do as a parent is you give your kids the tools behind the scenes, you talk to them, you work it through, and then you step back and stop trying to control everything. And I think that's what you get when you become an older parent, when you're an older parent.
That's so true.
It's like you're not trying to control it. We're not being the lawnmowers or the helicopters. We're just kind of like back there, you know,
Absolutely.
you're kind of holding on to the kite. Like, let's just keep you out of the lightning here, but I'm gonna let you do your thing. And it's good.
That's
good.
a great way to put it. I had to just say how grateful I was. One of our, we have viewers that we are not necessarily engaging with. And one of our unexpected viewers is a former coworker of mine, Sandy. And upon hearing the news that my daytime job is being eliminated, she took the time to send me a handwritten card.
That's so kind.
Wishing me well. And I just wanted to thank her. That meant so much to me. And Sandy also went through a tumultuous time with a previous employer, and she of all people knows, how that feels. And so I just wanted to say, people like Sandy taking the time to send somebody a kind word, in this case, handwritten and in the mail, it really helped boost my spirits, and I appreciate that. And as a contrast to Sandy, there was a Facebook post that was sort of celebrating the news of my demise, and so I thought that it was so funny.
Did I know about that?
Well, it was the reference that you had seen
Oh,
before, where it was
yes.
like, this person's job should be cut.
The
whatever.
caricature.
So what's really funny that I had to
Yeah.
tell you is I actually did go on there, and there was a woman who commented in the comments, "I don't wish her well," is what the person said.
Oh.
And so I had to laugh about that, because I've just never been the kind of person to celebrate others' misfortune, right? I don't have that mean-spirited nature where I'm going to like kick somebody while they're down, because we've all been down, or if we haven't, we will be potentially in life. And so I thought you would enjoy this. So I did look at the person's page.
Oh, you did a deep dive. Okay.
And the person is a nurse, and they had a big celebratory post about International Women's Month and honoring women. And so I just thought, once again,
You can't.
a lot of times the actions don't always match the words, right? So it just kind of made me pause to think, can you imagine if somebody's getting essentially fired or their positions being eliminated? I just wouldn't publicly go on a page or out there, in this case in a public forum, and say, I'm glad they're getting fired. I don't wish them well, So it kind of struck me as surprising.
I wouldn't even do it privately. And I think that's the funny thing, because the perception people would assume like, oh, Amanda's probably talking. No,
no, because you know what it feels like.
I know
too,
it. I mean, there's only one group of people that I would celebrate the demise, and that would be anybody who preys on a child.
Mm-hmm.
I would celebrate any child predator getting what they deserve 1,000%. Anybody else? No, because I've been in everybody's shoes. And it's not, and shame on those people out there and you're not used to that, you know what I mean? Because you are the likable one. Does that make sense? Like you are the one, like, I mean, it's
to our face, maybe.
Right. To our face. But it's really, really, I felt badly for you last week, because when this post came out, and you were, publicly, I mean, it was put out there and it was meant to hurt you. And it's not okay. And I immediately was like, let's go. Like I had the torch and I had a whole thing printed out, because I'm like, it's not okay. But then nobody's looking at this particular site. So, I mean, it was going to draw more attention to it. And
Yeah. Well, and it's just a situation where when we have walked through valleys in the seasons of our lives, it's actually akin to when someone passes away, how you never forget the people who will, come to a funeral, or the people who send, your mom a card when she becomes a widow, or somebody is, feeling that you deserve some extra support because of a surgery, and they might, stop by and bring you a meal. I mean, you never forget those gestures of extreme kindness in circumstances where you're really struggling. And so similarly, I was just grateful for people like Sandy and others who were so willing to uplift me in that moment of, okay, this is tough because it's, again, like such as life, an unexpected detour, if you will,
Yeah. I'm looking at this person now, and I'm looking at the mutual friends we have. And ironically, this is what's crazy. This is what's crazy that's sitting here thinking about it. When people do a public post that is when you don't know somebody and then you're running your mouth, if I sat here right now and called this person out and said her name and said, shame on you for writing something like this, I would be the villain.
Oh, right.
What, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like when this person, I mean, like
how dare you point out that I'm actually acting as
like
an
I
awful
don't,
person.
and I'm looking at all of the mutual friends.
Yeah, I know.
Like, are you kidding me?
I know, and I had to laugh because my husband is always I will say, if you have one, you feel blessed. I have a husband who he has my back and my kids' backs, so much so that it has like led to circumstances where I had to be like, nope, back off, like don't do it, So he actually said, when I was telling him this story and the fact that she was a nurse, he's like, okay, well, the next time that we go to, this person's hospital or place of employment, I'm going to refuse treatment from her because she might,
she might hurt
wish
you.
for my demise.
Yeah, she doesn't wish us well. Like, I mean, it's like your name is at the tip of my tongue because I'm just really tired of people just having this, just like this, oh, I can say whatever. There's no accountability for me. And, and for someone like me, that's really hard because I always take accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Either I do it myself. If I'm in the wrong, I will immediately say that I'm wrong, or I'm held to a different standard that other people are not. Expectations. And I would never, but that's the thing. Like, you can't change. Like, I know who I am, and I would never do something like that, but you would. And so I'm out. Like,
my hope, I think, for all of us moving forward is that we recognize that social media is actually the equivalent of, mailing hate mail to somebody's house, but it's even more intensified by the public display. And then you get the luxury of hiding, behind your keyboard. Even in this case, when she used her name, you're still not in my face or confronting somebody in person. And so it's the coward's way of really trying to tear people down. And I think that we've become so accustomed to it that now, like, everybody runs to the comments whenever anything is shared that might be somewhat controversial, because you're just like waiting to see who took the first, below the belt shot. And we all are like laughing about it and entertained. And it's always fun to be the person not involved until you're the person who's the victim. Well, and then you're like, this sucks.
Well, the thing is that like you're going to say it about the wrong person. You're going to say it about the wrong person. And whether it's, because I will like stick up for all like my people, I will.
Yes,
so if I see you in a parking lot and you could be walking in a Hy-Vee, I'm going to be the one to be like, hey, because it's going to have like, you're going to have I'm going to hold you accountable for the things that you said, because that's how I'm raised. It's not, I can't change where my geographic location is just because I live in Iowa and it's supposed to be Midwest nice. I'm not going to change who I am. Like, it's like when I saw that woman in Sam's Club, and this woman was telling me, she's like, and she was coming at me on social media. And I just said, good for you. I'm like, I hope you're that brave if I ever see you in person.
And she said, wasn't.
And she goes, oh, I can't wait to see you in person. She did this whole thing. I said, okay, boo, let's go. And I was coming in Sam's and I was with my kids. And this woman, it was like a movie, stopped in the chat, like mouth goes down, all color came from her. And I
love it.
just sat there like, and I cocked my head, and her reaction was so ridiculous. Like Gia looks at me and she's like, what's up with her? And I said, oh, she was running her mouth, and now she's just, and she turned around and she ran out of sand.
And now we know she was all bark and no bite.
Right.
You know,
like I bite.
So many people.
Like I bite.
So speaking of differences in how people present themselves publicly, I did watch part of the new franchise Real Housewives of Rhode Island.
Let's talk about it.
1000% have similar qualities to some of those women being from the East Coast.
First of all, I will say this is one thing that I'm really excited about this series. They're all brunettes.
Yeah,
they're all brunette. No offense to the blondes. Yeah. No offense to the blondes, right? But blondes get a lot of love. Like they were all brunettes. And but like Lucci was watching, and Lucci's like, I feel like I'm watching you. She's like, there's just a bunch of views. And she's like, but I think you're nice. But it's good, isn't it?
Now
Did you watch both episodes?
No, I only watched part of the first one. Let's talk about, there is a woman on there that was, yes, she does. And there was a former, was she a weather girl or was she a reporter?
Traffic reporter. Okay, she's like, I'm a former journalist.
She was a former traffic reporter.
Let's stop. You're not a, come on. You read the traffic. Like you were telling me what was backed up and what lane to avoid. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to but you're not.
And there's another girl on there that was very interesting. So from the age of 19 to now 31, she has been in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship with the son of one of the most famous judges.
Yes, the judge that gives all the he's the judge that gives a lot of people, shows a lot of grace.
Exactly. So this guy has so much money that he maintains a residence in Rhode Island that's, what did they say, 16,000 square feet, 16, that has 79 TVs. And yes, she's lived as his girlfriend there, essentially living a life of leisure for 6 months. Decade. And then for half the year, he's down in Miami with and has other relationships. So he has another girlfriend. The whole thing is so interesting. So the girl who was the former traffic reporter said, well, isn't she like a polygamist? Which I thought was so funny. Hilarious.
And then they had to say it was no polyamorous. So basically this guy, he has a setup and everybody knows about it, right? Like the girlfriends know. So he's in Rhode Island. He has his Rhode Island life with his Rhode Island girlfriend and his Rhode Island house. Okay. And so then I guess when he's like a snowbird, so then he goes down to Miami and the Rhode Island girlfriend does not come with him. He has the Miami girlfriend. And so now very, very fascinating lives that these people lead.
And
so, but the funniest is when she's like, it's not about money.
Okay. You've never worked outside of you started living in this mansion right out of high school.
And you're okay. And you're okay with your man leaving you for 6 months. And he's like, with another woman for 6 months and playing house.
Yeah, because okay. And again,
you do you though. You do you.
That's unfortunately where some people have that sort of, shift of okay, willing to do whatever to not have to work and get everything paid for, or actually be with somebody in a committed relationship for love. I mean, I think I would have to say, hands down, no question, I would choose the latter every time. Yeah. I only want to be in a loving, committed relationship.
Right. We're not getting married for money. No, and I'm not doing
But it's sad because you can see how she's now evolved as a 31-year-old to a place where she's realizing I'm worth more than just being this, kept woman who's essentially has a sugar daddy. I mean, she's feeling the pull of there's more to life than doing this. So I have to also mention quickly another show that I had no idea was coming out with the second season, Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm. Incredible show on Apple TV. Very bizarre, but very well done. And he plays the lead well in this show. And it's so crazy how if you guys are us, where you're always looking for the new series or some new escapism, infotainment. So I was so happy when I turned on Apple TV last night and, up pops that the second season is out, because I didn't even know that it was coming out.
That's the best part of the night when you're crawling into bed. Last night I was turning on, but I watch 3 things on repeat at night because I cannot fall asleep without something, because I'm very much, I grew
You
up
like the white noise.
well, I grew up like with tons of cars driving by our house, right? Like it was
Sure.
very busy where we grew up. And so I have to have like the television on and like bright lights and stuff. And my husband has to sleep like a monk, right? He has to have it like dark and like hot and like I'm complete opposite. So 3 shows that if you've never watched, you need to watch. Well, Gilmore Girls.
Yes,
Loving.
yes.
Okay. Good Girls is
Oh,
phenomenal.
yes, I
It's
remember
so
you telling
funny.
me that.
And Lincoln Lawyer.
Yeah,
And all 3 are on
that's
Netflix.
very good,
you
very
know,
good.
and I can tell you that Good Girls is done for now. It's done. They should have continued that show. But Lincoln Lawyer, they are waiting for a new season, so it is good to get. And I'm like that weirdo. Like I will finish the series and then I start right back up. And so,
and the Lincoln Lawyer lead has the same accent as Hector.
he sounds very much like Hector, you know. And
he
then like
does.
he will start talking in like Spanish in the middle. He's just has this very debonair. I really like him, Mickey Haller.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
But I have to go back to Rhode Island for a second because I want you to all watch Rhode Island and listen what you say. This is why I love it. And it's like I feel like I get like rejuvenated. These women are friends and frenemies, and they will sit down and they will say right to your face whatever they're thinking. You know what I mean? Like there is no like
Very much so.
So they'll say like, I heard you were talking about me. What were you talking about me for? Like, what did you say? Like, I know this. Like, and they just hold people accountable. And I'm like,
Quite a contrast to Beverly Hills, where they tend to be very passive aggressive.
you know,
Which, by the way, I've only watched now. Well, we're waiting for the reunion. The latest regular season episodes are over. I never thought I would say this in a million years. I am now like Team Dorit.
I am not.
I just think
I'm not.
But I agree that she's
Too
curated.
much.
But the only reason I said that is because I don't like how Kyle
Well,
is acting like, you know, a person in glass houses should throw stones. She's criticizing Dorit for all the things that she thinks Dorit should talk about and work through. And she's kept everything close to the vest with her situation.
Well, and also Kyle is doing this. Kyle does something that I've seen a lot of people around here do, like hiding behind, like,
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you what I think of
Yes.
you, but I'm just going to say, well, everyone's saying this. Everyone's saying this. So
that's exactly right.
she's messy, right? She's coming up, disrupting her life. And then Dorit, I just don't, I've never been a
She's
fan of Dorit.
dropping the criticisms to others to like embolden her case.
Yeah. And like the thing with Dorit, stop with your accent. Like you're not
Yeah,
from,
you're
you're
right.
you're from Connecticut. You don't sound like that. So stop talking like that. I liked
And
it
now
when
she's been speaking Italian.
oh, I know, and everything, and just like the slow lick of the ice cream, like no. And so that's why, you know, a dear friend of mine we're talking about the other day. We are very much Team Erica, no matter what. Like, Team Erica, what she's been through and everything, and the way she will have a very real conversation with somebody. And so when she dropped the word on Dorit, I mean, I was like, oh, you got my attention now. So I am very much, and here's the thing with
Erica, I think that she knew a lot more than she admits about her husband Tom Girardi and all the embezzlement.
I think that she took accountability for it. But the thing with the thing with Erica that I like is this: Erica gets labeled very quickly that
That's true.
she's a B, she's this, and she is, and I mean that with all due respect. Like, so am I, but because no one's asking, well, what led me to that? Like, my reaction is all about how you come at me, so it's all about energy. So you saw Erica as she was standing her ground, but yeah, at the end of it, she also broke down in tears because she felt deeply. That was her friend, and she felt betrayal for her friend. So while she's going to fight and she's going to put 10 toes down on something, she's also saying, hey, listen, I can hurt too. It's like, you know, because they just pile on, and like people think they can talk to a strong woman any way
Mhm.
they want, or do whatever
That's
they
true.
want to strong women, and then they're surprised when we show emotion. It's like, oh,
Right. You are a
I'm
caring,
a real
feeling
boy.
human being.
right.
So I wanted to share a graphic that I just loved. We always talk about the generational differences and how we're Gen X, and that baby boomers that raised us were tough as nails, and, you know, very much like giving us the key and saying, you know, fend for yourselves when you come home from school, right? If you didn't have parents at home because they were both working. So there is a breakdown of the generations that I loved, and it'll actually really enlighten you about some of the up and coming generations that you may not recognize also, you know, are being labeled. So baby boomers, 1946 to 64, work hard, stay loyal, the system will reward you. They built the system, now watching it crack.
Ooh.
Gen X 65 to 80 in the 1900s. Trust no one, figure it out yourself, the quiet survivors of every change. And we can attest to that. That's definitely us. The millennials are 1981 to 96. Follow your passion, escape the 9 to 5, big dreams, bigger bills. And I could see, I can see where they feel that way, because we've talked about how even when we were, broke, right? When I was making $4.65 an hour in my 20s, I lived in Iowa for part of that time, and milk was 99 cents a gallon and gas was 99 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
So the cost of living was so much more in line with some of the, lower wages that we were paid. Gen Z would be 97 to 2012. And this would encompass my 2 children. Question everything, protect your mental health, raised online in a world of constant noise. And then the Gen Alpha group is the 2013 to 2024 generation, born with tablets, raised by algorithms. The first kids growing up with AI, meaning artificial intelligence, everywhere. And then the up and comers, the Gen Beta generation, they're 25 to 39. So this will take us to 2039, which is scary. Born into artificial intelligence, they will never know a world without it.
It's crazy.
And that is so interesting, because I'm fascinated with artificial intelligence, and I've never been one to embrace science and love all the things that come with that. But I am so fascinated by AI, and I find it so intriguing the way that it's allegedly going to impact our traditional working world. And what's so interesting, I'm not a science fiction person, and I don't really enjoy sci-fi at all. Project Hail Mary is such an excellent movie.
My colleague said that too.
That I would encourage anybody, if you're a fan of anything Artemis or what's been going on, with space exploration. Ryan Gosling, hats off. My son is a huge film buff, and he said, we've got to see Project Hail Mary. So we saw it in Seattle on Sunday night. Highly recommend.
That's what everyone said.
Everyone's saying the book is really good.
Yes, that's what my colleague said. But I am like, as soon as somebody says the word sci-fi, I'm out.
Same.
Like I am like, that's where I'm
But
just
that's
kind
what
of like,
you're gonna love about it.
See, I'm very much like anything like that. Like people talk anything sci-fi or anything like fantasy, like Lord of the Rings. Never seen it. Star Wars.
And I did feel that way about some of that, but I loved Game of Thrones. It was incredible.
Not
Game
my
of
thing.
Thrones. And this movie, if you are an ET fan, this movie will give you all the feels.
Are there Reese's
just like
Pieces?
ET.
Are there Reese's Pieces involved?
Well, I'll just put it to you this way. There is a human level of relationship that I teared up in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's very good.
You would like it. Your kids would love it, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I loved E.T. E.T. with
too.
Drew Barrymore in the closet when they come face to face. She comes face to face with E.T. and they scream. That's like my favorite part, I think, of any movie, when they're just
so good.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it. But I'm just excited. Give me and Beverly Hills is over now. Is it?
I thought I watched the last episode.
I don't know. No, I feel like they left us dangling too hard.
Oh, you're right. There's got to be another one.
There's got to be
they didn't have one last week, right? So that's why I thought.
No, they did the big blow up at the table. When Kathy Hilton got up from the table and went to go find Dorit. Have you seen that one?
Was it Kathy who went to find her?
Yes. So that's how we know that Dorit definitely has something on Kyle, because Dorit said that she could end Kyle.
Okay, then I must have missed that.
Oh, I just get.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I watched all of it then.
You would know there was a big fight. Did you get to see between Erica and Dorit?
I saw the part where Kyle snapped at Dorit.
So you haven't seen Erica, so you're missing a big part.
Okay. Thank you. Now I'm excited to watch.
Now you have something else to watch. I'm very excited.
Like, I don't know what's going on that I missed.
But I will tell you this. So the show that I've been talking about over and over is Unexpected, the one on teen pregnancy that's on TLC. And again, it's one of those things I shouldn't talk about it because it's exactly what's exactly what the network wants. But it follows. Now I was hoping that it's going to have the same ripple effect that Teen Mom 16 and Pregnant had for a lower teen pregnancy rates in the United States. Like it was drastically reducing them. So, but here's the problem that I have. the 15-year-old girl is in the relationship with a 13-year-old boy. He's allowed to sleep over at her house. The parents are all close friends.
It's
The girl
just
comes
crazy.
home from the hospital, and says, Mom, I'm jumping in the shower. The mom of the girl says, is Hunter jumping in with you? She's like, yeah. And then the mom closes the bathroom door. I am 48 years old. I would not go to my parents' house and say, hey, Hector's going to get a shower with me. Like,
Right.
I've been
It
married
just
for almost 2
seems
decades.
So inappropriate.
So I'm like, call CPS. And then this week's episode, because of course I'm still watching. Of course, because I'm like, because it's a train wreck. I'm like, this can't be real. Now the girl is worried that she's, first of all, she waited 4 days after giving birth to participate in sexual activity with this 13-year-old boy. The parents all know about it. And now she's worried she's pregnant again. And the mother,
this is like,
mom
it's
quit
the
her
beginning
job.
of the end of times.
The mom quit her job. She's like, well, I quit my job. I made the tough decision to quit my job because I want them to finish school. I appreciate that. However, you're making it very easy for them now.
Right.
If they're still
Right.
going to school and they still have their life,
Let's play house and
Let's-
have mom pay all the bills and take care
Right.
of the kid.
And you will
gosh.
see now that I've mentioned it, and now your phones or your computers have heard this, it's going to come up in your algorithm.
Yeah,
And now you're going
yeah.
to see reels, and the way the mom tries to justify, she tries
So,
to justify all of it.
Speaking of CPS, so my friend Gina said, why are they allowed to air that without some kind of pushback about like abuse of minors?
I know. Apparently, a judge got involved because the father of the boy, has an injunction, and the son is no longer allowed to sleep over there. But how do you know?
Mhm,
I'm talking
mhm.
about and the
Right,
mom
when
of the
parents
daughter
are sanctioning it.
The mom of the daughter has this weird obsession with the boy. I truly believe she's flirting with him. She's like hitting on him. It's a weird thing. Like this kid, he's like a stud athlete in middle school because he's still in middle school. And it's gross. And it's like the mom is like trying to go back to her childhood and try to have like the popular athlete, like have a crush on her. It's like a weird, it's very much reminds me of, the young teacher in the school, that female that's preying on, it's just, it's gross. It's so gross. And I can't even believe it.
Yeah, it's, and we've talked about this. It's like people want to go more extreme just to get views.
Oh, I know.
It's getting more and more. I mean, I'm waiting now for, as gross as it sounds, like the series with bestiality,
Oh, gross.
where people are married
Somebody
to animals, because that will be next, right?
I mean,
it's that much debauchery. Like, we have to do whatever we can to shock the audience into watching for the advertiser's sake, regardless of the moral and ethical ground that we've completely sunken beneath.
Oh, of course. I have to tell you something, and I had posted about it not too long ago. Somebody had recently said, it was somebody that I had worked with in the news briefly. This person was only in the business maybe for like 18 months, got out. And the irony of it is because of the schedule to pay and all this stuff, and said, she was telling me that she was going to try to start like a speaking series like you and I have. And, she wanted to do this. And I was like, that's great. She's like, yeah, you're so lucky to and I kind of like step back, and it's something that we say to people. And I don't think we realize how it comes across. And it's like, she was coming with no ill intent by any means. And I'm thinking, well, it's not luck, and it didn't happen overnight. And I said, we've got from point A to point B because of all the stuff in the middle. And that journey was something. Something. And I said to her, and I said, why did you leave? She's like, well, the pay was awful. Right. So, $6.50 an hour, $4.75, right? $4.65 an hour when we started. That was and then when we were finally making good money, it was still very bad. It was still really, really bad. And it was, I remember the one thing, I remember it vividly. My dad was taking me to the airport. We're in Philadelphia International, and it was Christmas Eve.
And you were flying back.
And he was like, my dad was dressed up because he was going to go right from mass. And he was like, I can't believe. He was like, this is your first Christmas. I mean, I've never been away. And I remember flying home into Texas. Flying home back home into Texas, and landing. And it was like 11:30 at night on Christmas Eve. And I remember thinking, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? You know what I mean? I was so sad about it. And then the next day, Christmas Day, the photog and I, we'd go out to Denny's to have our Christmas dinner together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
in between. And it's like, I think about moments like that where I felt so lonely and I was so homesick and it was all of the things. And I think about all those moments. And there's, I mean, we have a million of them in between us. And it was that, that led to this. So it was never really luck. It was a lot of sacrifice.
Absolutely. Sacrifice both in our personal life and then in our ability to actually get ahead, in contrast to some people who were sort of rising through the ranks of industries and careers where there were opportunities for advancement. I mean, when you reached the anchor, quote unquote, desk, you really didn't have anywhere to go.
No,
I mean, there wasn't going to be 20 other places around the area where you could work because there's only one station in a town if they're smaller.
Right.
So there's like, what, 4 anchor jobs, if that.
And you just can't. And if you're, I feel like if you are a genuine person, it's really, really hard to stay because you eat a lot of crap, right? You eat a lot of crap. And everybody was always talking about everybody. And this is what's really, really sad. I was part of a lot of conversations where we were talking about other talent. I was part of a lot of conversations with management.
I think everybody was,
with management.
And that's sad because then you're like, if they're talking about him or her to me, what are they saying about me?
I never worried about that part of I was always like, well, they're not talking about me. So I'm going to be like, listen, it was like, I don't like her. That delivery is really bad. Like her hair, she's looking a little ragged, and you're sitting there like, yeah.
But I always knew that I could be next too. I guess I just always looked at it like I'm not immune or safe, despite sometimes when management would say, "Oh, but we don't have a problem with you."
Once I got older, yeah. But when I was young and naive, and I was like,
oh yeah,
and I was like, no one's gonna come for me from my looks. Like when you're young and 22 and everything is like, everything's high and tight and like, like, and the bob was like bobbing, like it was just like a nice blonde, and you're just kind of thinking, well, no. And so you join in. And so it's just interesting because I was thinking back about all of the things. I mean, it was literally like, am I going to pay my electric bill or am I going to, and I remember my electric got turned off and I had to call my sister because I did not want to tell my parents. And I called my sister. And I was like, my electric's been shut off. And she was like, why? I said, because I make $6.50 an hour. And then, she was giving me.
That's so funny. That's such an East Coast thing.
What is it called?
So we would say the power was shut off.
Oh, no, ours was the electric. The electric shut off. Well, my brother-in-law then, she had to tell my brother-in-law because they were going to Western Union money.
Oh, my gosh.
And my brother-in-law, of course, had to give me like the speech. Like he gave me like a big brother speech. And I was like, so am I getting the money or not? Like, am I getting my lights back on or not? Because I was literally showering. Like I was using my, some of my co-workers. I had to go to their house. I mean, it was just, you were broke. You were broke. And we were offered jobs, like PR jobs in between. And
where we could have made more money.
A ton of money. But it was, you just chased.
But you were willing to do that because at that time we couldn't see ourselves doing anything else. And so that was something where the sacrifices seemingly were worth it. But then looking back, we probably stayed longer than what we, would or should have if we knew when we got older, kind of the different perspective.
Yeah. I always thought it was going to change. I always thought it was going to be I was going to be the one that was going to like after I got to have a baby, I'm going to change the way they think. I'm going to change the way. And it's just, no, it's just, I think the same old zebras, but it was interesting. So, especially if you're in a place right now, so many people watching, I mean, if you're in a place where you've worked really hard to get, and someone will say like, you're lucky, you can thank people, but you say, you know what, there's a lot. It wasn't luck. It was never luck. It's grit and it's sacrifice and it's making tough decisions. It's kind of, I always think about my daughter and I think of people who are high level athletes. And I think, Charlotte and Thomas and stuff. And when they're getting the fruits of all of their labor, that's a lot of missed birthday parties. Like what you see on the field or on the court, that's missed birthday parties. That's missed sleepovers. That's, getting up early, practicing on a holiday. Like it's not luck. For anybody who's showing success, there's been so much grit and sacrifice and sweat and, it's.
And how do you feel now with 2 younger ones in travel sports in contrast to your older 2? Like, how have you changed your thinking?
Nothing matters.
Mm.
Whether you win or lose at a tournament doesn't matter. Whether your kid is on the A, B, or C team, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, who cares that your kid was chosen for the all tournament team when they're in 5th grade?
Mhm.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that. There's a kid I know that I can think of who plays basketball, who's a junior this year, and he ended up being really like one of the stars on his team. And he was relegated to like a B or a C team when he was in, I think, 8th grade. And so, to anyone whose son, daughter, or grandchild is in that moment of middle school where they feel like they're getting, the second class citizen treatment, just know that many of those kids will end up working, just as hard, if not harder, and ultimately becoming the star players
Right.
of the future years.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that there's so much change.
There's so much change
From like 8th grade to the upper grades of high school.
And when you have kids in grade school or middle school, right? Let's say they're on the B team, and you see parents like freak out. And I would have been one of them if it was Gia. If you put Gia on a B team in soccer, I'm not going to sit here and act like I won it. I probably been like, what? No. But for what? Why would you want your kid on an A team and them not play? Why wouldn't you want them on a B team so they're getting a lot of reps? So they're
that's
on the
true.
court, they're on the field more. Like, why would you not want that? It doesn't, like, you're looking for labels. Like, what? So you want the A team? Let's call it out. It's for our own ego. It's for our own ego.
1,000%.
It's for us to say at the water cooler on Facebook, playing for the A. Come on.
Well, and here's another example. I had a case where my son and one of his friends, they played on a team that was considered an A team, and they didn't get a lot of playing time.
Right.
The irony is now those kids who go to a different school, they don't get any playing time at their high school. And my son and his friend play all the time.
Right.
Which, granted, different school, different programs, but it's actually funny how at that time, upon reflection, like you said, you recognize, like, in the end, all of their extra playing time didn't translate to them being starters or stars on their teams, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything is relative to a lot of variables that you can't control.
And sometimes, sometimes you will have coaches playing favorites, like whether it's a club or a school, like sometimes you will have that, right? Adversity is going to teach our children more than anything. And it's going to irritate you, and you have every right to be upset, and you have every right to complain about it in the comforts of your home, right? Like, I would never recommend complaining in front of your child. I would never. But it's like the late, great Bobby Knight said, the best motivator is bench meet ASS. ASS meet bench.
That's true.
It is the greatest motivator, whether our kids deserve it or not. When our children are sitting on a bench, they decide how much they want to be out there. They decide. What are you doing when no one's watching? Are you working hard in the off season? Are you doing, XYZ? And it was interesting. Nico, it's his first year of high school soccer. Got some varsity time. He's on JV. I've never been prouder because he's playing the whole game. Why would I not want him to get better if he's playing the whole game rather than a couple minutes here?
And he got some opportunities at varsity, which
played
is
varsity,
so great.
And I'm thankful. And he's building relationships and friendships.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that I prayed for. And it was hilarious. Like, the one night, he's going to kill me, but I'm sure no one he knows is watching this. He comes in the room and he's like, can I know what I want for my birthday. I want like a weight bench. And I was like, okay, like, all right. But I have to tell you. So my Hector makes fun of me because I am like literally stereotype. I'm Italian mom with the son. If you know anything, I mean, just chat GPT it. Like, Italian women and their sons are like, So I'm waiting for him. I drive up. I'm waiting for him to come out of the game. This kid comes out of the locker room when there's like a girl on either side. And I was like, is that Nico? I'm like looking, and I was like, oh no. And I jump out of my vehicle. Jump out. And I was like, what's up? Like he was like my man, and I was like, who are these? And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I was like, what's up? And then
them.
And then the one girl was like, hi, Amanda. And I was like, I know what you're doing. Like, I was like, hey. And he is in the car. I'm like, who was that? I'm not even like, good game. I'm like, who was that? And I come home and I'm telling Hector, and Hector's like, you're actually the worst. And he told Nico, he's like, your mom's going to be the biggest, C blocker that there
Oh
is.
my gosh.
Not funny.
It's so funny.
I know there's other women. You don't do that with Thomas?
I am, my son, as you know, is the most unbothered person on the planet. And so he's so reserved about everything that I am very much kept at arm's length from conversation.
So if you
or
saw
situations.
like, what would you do? Would it hit you like, who are these?
Well, I have been told secondhand that he has been seen like walking a girl to class. And so it is kind of humorous, because then I think to myself, he must be grateful that his father retired, because Dave, being a teacher
Could you imagine?
at that high school, would have been in the hall every day and would have, potentially run into Thomas walking a girl to class. So it is weird, as we've talked about, for our sons to engage in relationships in contrast to our daughters.
Yeah.
For some reason, we give the daughters a lot more credit for being able to handle the emotional roller coaster, but we're worried about our sons. Like, we're protective of our sons.
Because we know how these
help
chicks
it.
are. But it's like Hector, when he thought it was hilarious that Nico was asking me all about condoms in the aisles of Target. And I'm like, would it have been funny if it was Gia? And like his face completely changed. I was like, yeah, like what's up? Like,
right.
if we
That's
walked
so
in
true.
and Nico was watching a movie on a couch and they were like all like,
kissing.
yeah, Hector he would be like high-fiving. He would have a coronary if we walked in and it was Gia or like any one of his daughters. So I'm like, this is like not even okay. But I'm the one that's like peering in the window when he's talking to a girl outside. I'm like, we're not doing this.
It is so funny. Katie Webb said, "I'm so glad I don't watch TV." And hats off to those of you who are spending your time in a more potentially productive fashion,
Right.
because for us, I would say we have always embraced entertainment or infotainment that comes through our televisions as an escape. For me, it's like a relaxing escape.
It's very relaxing. It's because it's like when you're spending your whole life doing the news, or whether it's like child advocacy and all that kind of stuff, and you need something that like, you need to know that there are people who have ridiculously dysfunctional situations, like
to
drama,
feel better about yourself.
Like, we're fighting about like someone was fighting about like the prosciutto didn't taste right in like Rhode Island, and you're like, okay, like it's sorry. But I mean,
so speaking of prosciutto, how are your parents enjoying Italy?
well, they come back today. They're done. Like,
but you said they have colds.
They have colds. And it was really, really hard for me because I told them the neighborhoods where to stay and I gave them options. And then they went and stayed in different places. And so then it was like they were complaining about stuff. And I'm like, I told you not to stay there. Right. So, and it was, my dad turned 79 in a couple weeks and he doesn't look 79. He's very sharp. And I don't want to say that to like be disrespectful to anybody, like looks 79. I think in our head, we feel that's very old and it's like not, it's not, but he's slowing down. Right. And that's really hard when you know that your parents, they don't walk like they used to, or they're slower. And that's my dad. And my dad's the one that my dad was playing basketball with us. I mean, my goodness, like I was playing basketball with my dad when I was pregnant with Gia. Right. So it's, so that was interesting, but I mean, they got to witness, they stayed near the Coliseum, and craziness on Good Friday.
But
Pope Leo was doing the Stations of the Cross out by the Coliseum.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I'm thinking like that was pretty.
So
it
was a once in a lifetime opportunity.
My dad has had fun at the hotel bar because they do nothing but play Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. And if you know my dad is like living. I mean, he calls Frank Sinatra is Francis. He calls him Francis Albert, like Uncle Francis. Literally, he's like, turn on Uncle Francis is singing. So it's very much, yeah. So they had a good time. They did the food, but I don't know if they saw everything the way that we saw everything. Mm-hmm. But then again, we have,
But you said you got them a golf cart tour, which was neat because then they didn't have to walk it.
They didn't have to walk, so they went around Rome, and then they went to the Vatican. And I was trying to explain to them, like, there's a lot of people. I'm like, no, and I'm like, no, this isn't like Hershey Park. A lot of people, this is like, and then I mean, very pushy and like,
oh yes.
So, and I told my dad, I'm like, you're gonna like, you can push. I'm like, but you got to control your face and your mouth because you're at the Vatican. and I don't know if it's probably a good idea to cuss anybody out when you're at the Vatican, but they were kind of also like the Sistine Chapel. They just said it was a lot smaller, because you think
Mhm.
it's going to be this massive, and it's really not. It's like a small room. And
Well, I'm happy they had that opportunity to go, especially during Easter.
I am too. And this is the other thing, and you know this because we did the holiday vacations. And what was so sad to me every time we would go on these holiday vacations were sponsored by the television station Tara and I worked,
Mhm.
and it was open to viewers, and everyone would go, and everybody who would be on there would be like retired age. And that always makes me very sad when I think about it. Right,
Mhm.
all these
Mhm.
phenomenal trips that people take, and these people we met on these trips are amazing, and I still talk to so many of them. But why we wait in life?
Mhm.
We wait for all these. Well, once I'm done working, then we'll go and travel. Like my parents, they were so focused on their careers and being there for us, and especially when my sister had her kids, and they were the first grandkids, and just being all there, and they never took time to go. They would just stick to what they knew, like the Ocean City, Marylands of the world, which are great. And I just wish they would have seen it. I'm glad they saw it, but I wish they would have seen it with with some younger legs.
Mhm. And that's the one thing I've talked about this if you've ever been to one of our shows. So for my mom, she retired as a school administrator at 57, and
Young.
now she's 81. And so during those decades of their early retirement, my parents traveled the world, and I can't remember if I'm quoting her correctly. I think she said they went on 54 cruises.
Jeez.
I mean, it was incredible. And they did cruises everywhere, like Europe. Or a favorite for my father was visiting Bosnia and Croatia, and they just loved some of those Eastern European countries. And my mom, I just had this conversation with her recently. I said, what were some of your favorite trips? And she said the cruise they did where they were on a small luxury ship in Tahiti.
Oh, wow.
Was one of her favorite cruises.
Nice.
And so I am just grateful for those of you who are widows or you lost a loved one. If you have those trips or those memories and the photos, it brings a lot of joy when you think back about those times together. And she said, I have no regrets, because even though my father passed away in his mid 70s, there were years of, trips that she felt like she, to your point, was intentional
Right.
about trying to take while they were still able-bodied.
Yeah.
And so it is sad whenever those holiday vacations happen, inevitably somebody on the trip has a medical emergency, which
horrible.
is so
It's very sad.
because so many people are of advanced ages,
Yes. Because we wait too long. And it's not my parents love to go places. They traveled everywhere, within the United States. But I think it's what it is. It's the familiar is nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
So Ocean City, Maryland, like I pull into Ocean City, Maryland, and it is the sense of, I can't even describe it.
Like
it's
you're
like
home.
I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm literally, I have chills right now thinking about it, because it's just everything comes rushing back. And I remember I had a great childhood, and I'm spending summers there. And you take your kids, like, this is where I used to eat ice cream. We did this, and you live for that, like that moment. And so I think that's what happened with my parents for so many years. It was, they're going where it felt nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was, and that's what it was. So I will encourage everybody. It's like a couple $100, not even that. Order a passport.
Mm-hmm.
Just go spend money on yourself. If income's tight, put a couple bucks a month, $1 a month aside, and just get yourself a passport. Because when traveling overseas or traveling to another country is a lot cheaper. It's a lot more affordable than you may realize.
Yeah, that's true. And I will encourage any of you, if you're flying more than once or twice a year,
yes,
TSA PreCheck is so worth it. When we flew to Seattle, and we also were going through Minneapolis, because of PreCheck, but also just in general, after hearing all the horror stories, there were no lines. So we got it through TSA with TSA PreCheck, and even without, it would have been fine in Minneapolis. 5 minutes it took us to get through security. And then coming back from SeaTac, so Seattle, it was a little bit busier, but with TSA PreCheck, we got through in probably 10 minutes.
Well, I love that one of my former producers put on, he put a picture. He was like, listen, I worked in the media for years. He's like, they're lying to you. He was at O'Hare, and it was on a busy day. It was like on a Sunday, and he like took a picture of the line. and there was like 5 people in the line, and that's because I was prepared. Like I had said, like we got to Chicago, we got to O'Hare way early, and there was like no line. So, but the pre-check is life saving.
And it's like $75 for 5 years. And then it is a government sanctioned program. But then some of you will know there are private companies like Clear that also offer a lot of the same. But if you are somebody like us who lives in a small town, we fly out of smaller airports. So those airports don't have Clear. So you're better off if you're living in a small town like us to go with the TSA government sanctioned pre-check, because all the smaller airports are going to have that too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is true. That is true. We have the TSA pre-check, and it's
a time saver for sure. And you don't have to take off your shoes, which I love, but that's everybody now, but it used to be just the pre-check. So now you don't have to take off your shoes. And then also they're way less stringent or strict when you're going through because of pre-check, because you've already been vetted and cleared by this government program.
Well, it's so funny. And I think that there should really be 2 lines. Like people have flown or experienced other people. Like, Barry, you got to take off your belt. Like take off your belt. Like, why are you like, oh, I have to like, and then you're like, you got to wait for Barry. Like you got to put your computer here and you got to separate all this stuff. Like
true.
It drives me bananas, but like get out there and go see the world. It is, people were like, I can't believe you're flying during the when we're
shut down.
Well, it was shut down, and they're bombing Iran, and I'm like, can I have an extra pillow up here? Like in my mind, like, can I have one more pillow? Well, it is. I cannot believe it. It's almost time to like wrap it up. 7:56 on this cold spring day. It's April 8th, Wednesday, April 8th. I'm going to use the 4-letter word of the day is true. It is true, because I think it is important to stay true to who you are and stay true to what you are. And listen, I have people who don't like me and whatever, but I'm proud that whatever I believe in and whoever I am, I will stand 10 toes down. And I think that's really important. Whatever you stand for and whatever you're made of, stand 10 toes down on that. You may lose people, you may lose friends, and you may lose, acquaintances, but it's okay. Like you'll sleep like my husband.
Very
soundly through the nights, right?
And coming off Easter weekend, I thought this was an appropriate verse coming from 1 John chapter 3, verse 16. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. And so if you have accepted the gift of Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then you know that this whole season, coming off Easter weekend, is one of renewal. And so we feel grateful that whatever has happened to us, whatever, as we like to say, has, been done to us or been done to you, if those slights are informing your future, leave them in the past, move on, and be at peace with the fact that you can have, through Christ, a new creation, a new life. And you don't have to be weighed down by all of the things that you feel in some ways are, burdens that you carry. And so I think for us, we've come to a place as older people evolving, as adults, where we sometimes do lament the fact that we spent time and energy on people and circumstances that frankly we don't even remember. I mean, I told you I went through old emails during like the COVID overhaul, the clean out of some of my stuff. I had forgotten the email that I saved because it upset me so much that I printed it off.
Right.
And then you read it and then you're like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot that this a-hole sent that,
Not me. I remember everybody's name who did me dirty. I'm coming. Stay ready because I'm coming. No, it is true. We get ourselves so worked up over things like what really matters, and especially the opinions of people who don't care about us. And then once you find out what people really think of you, thank you, because that now God removed them from your life because he heard the conversations when you weren't in the room. So it's just make sure you find yourself people who, when you leave the room, they're defending you. That's it. That's all. Like I said that to a friend the other day. I'm like, that's all I need. And if I don't have people like that, then those aren't my people, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Have a great Wednesday. Stay warm, and we will see you right back here on Friday as we hopefully are heading towards spring.
The group chat is brought to you by the empowering staff at Middle River Cabinetry, Splendore the Medical Spa and Azalea Lane Boutique.